miss that?
I mean, it's attempting to load it.
Okay. Welcome to the How to Finally Get the Referrals You Deserve from accountants, attorneys, and financial advisors live training session. This is Seth Greene. We're going to go ahead and get started in just a minute. There we go. Jerry, can you hear me? This is Seth Greene. I am your host for today's live training session, How to Finally Get the Referrals You Deserve from CPAs, Attorneys, and Financial Advisors. Can you just type, we were having some technical issues earlier. I apologize. Can you type in the chat box if you can hear me? Stan, can you hear me? Lana, can you hear me? Oh, should be good. Yes, Mark, you can hear me. Sean, you can hear me. Okay, awesome. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So if I will be, okay, everybody can hear me. Awesome. All right, we're going to dive right in. At the end, if you'll stay till the end, I will show you how for free you can also get on my top-rated podcast and get the first chapter of your book done for you for free. Jerry, our host, is here. However, it appears, I believe, this is a Google Hangout, and she does not have her headphones or mic with her, so she can't talk, but perhaps she can type fabulous messages for all of us. It's the beauty of technology. 5 minutes before the webinar, I didn't have internet access in our office building for some reason, so we were a little, this is touch and go, but we're glad we're here. All right, so now that we're live, now that this is actually working, I'd like to ask you to have a piece of paper and a pen, something you can take good notes on, and hopefully turn off your email, turn off your cell phone, turn your cell phone to vibrate, and turn off your social networks so that you can take some good notes. The better notes you take, the better this will benefit you, because I've got a lot of content to cover, and we're going to go pretty fast. So buckle your seatbelts. Okay, so who am I? Why should you listen to me? Jerry was going to do a much better job introducing me than I will me introducing myself, but I will tell you anyway. I have written six books on marketing, 5 bestsellers, financial advisor marketing magic, real estate marketing magic, cutting edge marketing magic, online marketing magic, and the Facebook Ninja. Book number 6 is Market Domination for Podcasting. It was just written, just picked up by a major publisher. So I'm super excited that hopefully by December, I will have achieved a bucket list goal of mine. I will have a book on the shelves at Barnes & Noble. I'm also the only person in history that legendary marketer Dan Kennedy has nominated 3 years in a row for his prestigious Marketer of the Year award. And I've been interviewed and featured on real media like the Wall Street Journal, CBS Money Watch, CNN, NBC, Boston Globe, Miami Herald, and a whole bunch of other places. So I want to dive right in and get to the content that we're here to talk about today, which is we want to talk about how to get referrals from CPAs and attorneys and financial advisors, regardless of which one you are. Because I know, obviously, if Jerry invited you to this training session, you could be any of the three, right? I have no way of knowing that with everybody on the call. So the myth is, Ben, that CPAs and attorneys and advisors, they won't refer. I hear that all the time. Oh, attorneys aren't going to refer to me. Accountants aren't going to refer to me. I've never had any luck with that. And listen, I felt the exact same way because I started out, as you'll hear in a little bit when I talk about my background later, you'll hear how I started out as a retail financial advisor. Kay says talk slower. Okay. I started out as a retail financial advisor, making 300 cold calls a day, interrupting strangers, asking for money. Kay, you might have even hung up on me. And my branch manager had taught me, you know, the holy grail is the referral from the CPA or the attorney. So ask your clients who their CPAs and attorneys are, and then call them up and say, hey, we have a client in common. I'd like to buy you lunch. I'd like to talk about it, type of thing. Tell them about your business and try and build relationships that way. And I tried that, and I gained weight, and I lost money, gained calories and lost money, and it didn't work. I bought breakfast, I bought lunch, I bought dinner. No luck, didn't get any business out of it. There are a number of systems, marketing programs that purport to tell you how to get referrals from CPAs and attorneys. And I've bought most of them. They're sitting in my basement because they didn't work. They weren't worth the paper they were printed on. So I feel your pain. I've been through it, and I finally figured out a better way. And that is what Jerry asked me to share with you. So the myth is that CPAs, attorneys, and advisors won't refer. The truth is they will, but it's only if it's in their best interest. And it's got to go beyond doing a good job for their clients. Because if you're an attorney and you're trying to get referrals from CPAs, every attorney who wants their business says they do a good job. If you're an advisor trying to get a referral from an accountant, every advisor tells that accountant they'll do a good job. So they've got no way. If you all sound the same, how do they know who to trust? How do they know who to believe? They can't believe anybody, so they don't refer. You know what? Let's have everybody type in the chat box if you are an attorney, an advisor, or an accountant, just so we get a picture of kind of who's on the training session with us today. So it's got to be in their best interest. And here is an example. Their best interest, they think, is all about them. Everybody's favorite radio station you've heard before is WIFM. What's in it for me? Okay, attorney, 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 advisor, advisor. Okay, we got a mix. So this is John Cito. He's a client of ours, and he is a certified divorced financial analyst, which means he's a financial advisor specializing in working with, he wants divorcing women. And he has been trying for years to get referrals from divorce attorneys in New Jersey where he works. And he tried buying lunch, he tried buying breakfast, he tried doing continuing education credits. He even tried sending flowers and fruit baskets, all with no luck. He never got anywhere. But he did what I'm about to show you. And now he has, I believe, 17 divorce attorneys in New Jersey who he's got relationships with, who he's talking to on a regular basis, who he's in front of on a regular basis, who are sending him business. How did he do that? I'm going to show you. Another thing I hear all the time, Don can't hear me. Okay, everybody else, I apologize, Don. I don't have an answer for that one. CPAs and attorneys say they can't refer because it would alienate their other advisors or other referral sources. So the attorney will say, Mr. Advisor, you know, Dan, I can't refer because my I have 10 advisors who send me business and I can't play favorites. I can't send them all to, I can't send referrals to just one of them. I can't send any referrals because I don't want to upset anybody. And you may have heard that. That is hogwash. The truth is they're not referring to those other advisors now. They're not sending them business. So there's no way it's an issue. Now, you don't want to be conflictual or confrontational, so I'm going to show you a better way. I'm going to show you how, even if, so first of all, let's say we've got Ed as a financial advisor and David is an attorney. Let's say Ed asked David for a referral and David says, I can't because I have other advisors. Well, first of all, if David gave Ed a referral, how would any other advisor know? It's confidential client information. There'd be no way of any other advisor knowing that David was handing out his referrals to Ed. So it's not a real excuse. It's a smokescreen. So you've got to give them a reason that they can justify if someone were to find out, hey, how come you're giving all your referrals to Ed? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how this is going to fix that problem. So this is Estate Planning Experts Atlanta. And this is written by an attorney. And he wrote a book where he interviewed CPAs, financial advisors, nursing home directors, and home health care aides. He interviewed them all. He transcribed and edited all those interviews. I'm going to show you how to do that. And he turned it into a book about the experts in estate planning in Atlanta. Now, once he's got that book, what happens? Well, if he publishes it and he sends a CPA or an attorney a copy who is in the book, says, hey, thanks so much for doing the book. Here's 2 copies. What's going to happen? Is the CPA going to throw it out? Is he going to say, I don't want anybody to know I was in a book? Of course not. He's going to want to shout it from the rooftops. This is the secret. Because it strokes his ego. It makes him look good. He was chosen. He was picked to be in this book. He's an expert. He wants everybody to know he's an expert. So he's going to tell everybody about it because it's in his own best interest, because he's making himself look good that he was in the book. And he just happens to be taking my client along for the ride because my client wrote the book. Do you see how that totally changes the relationship? Because it's no longer about send me referrals, give me business. It's I'm promoting you. I'm putting you in a book. I'm leading with value in advance. I'm making you famous in a little small part of our community. Because if you think about it, Mary Kay said what people want more than money and sex is recognition and fame. And this gets them, they're getting recognized as an expert in their field, and they're getting mini famous. You know, my kids, you'll see them in a little bit. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And they joke that daddy's marketing famous, which means I can go to Starbucks, no problem whatsoever. Nobody stops. Nobody asks me for my autograph. No paparazzi follow me around. However, if I go to a marketing conference, there will, checking into the hotel, there will be a line of people will find me and follow me and want to talk to me. So we're making them mini famous because you don't need to be famous on a Kim Kardashian, God help me level. You only need to be famous to your ideal clients and referral sources. That's it. A small community of people who will hire you, pay whatever fee you ask, and send you referrals on a regular basis. And we're going to talk about how this book process works. Another myth I hear is that this advisor won't refer to me because I don't have enough business for them. I have to send them a ton of referrals to get their attention. It's not true. You just have to appeal to their ego. And a book does that in a way that nothing else can. So, I mentioned this is my wonderful wife, Rebecca, and my 3 kids. Max on the right is 9, Lily in the middle is 3, and Ella is 7. But I didn't start out as someone who had figured this process out. I didn't start out as an award-winning marketer. I started out as a Syracuse Orangeman. I went to SU for undergrad, and I went for drama. No, literally, that was my degree. Because at the age of 18, my life goal was I wanted to be a Broadway star. You see how that worked out. And there's a reason for that. My senior year, 2 of my friends and I decided we were going to produce a musical. We were going to produce an interactive murder mystery musical called The Mystery of Edwin Drood that none of you have ever heard of, for very good reason. And that was our first mistake. The second mistake was made when we raised the money from the Student Government Association, and 6 weeks before opening night, they said we made a mistake. We shouldn't have given you so much money. Our bylaws prohibit us from giving a first-year organization so much money. We're taking half your budget back. And my friends and I went back to my apartment, felt like we got, punched in the gut. And I said, what do we do? Do we close the show? We either close the show or we got to find another way to get the money. And if you ever seen the movie Top Gun with Tom Cruise, you'll remember this guy. This is the Admiral. And he has a famous line. He says to Tom Cruise, he said, "Son, your ego is writing checks. Your body can't cash." Well, fortunately, or unfortunately, however you look at it, that's what I did. I got this brilliant idea that I would charge the budget for the show on my credit cards. And we would sell tickets to raise the money to pay back the credit cards. And my friend said, "That's a great idea. Go do it." So I did. I wanted to be a big shot. Unfortunately, we had picked a show no one heard of, and I knew nothing about marketing, so we did not sell very many tickets. And when graduation came, I said, "Guys, the deal we made was we'd all get credit cards and split whatever was left 3 ways. It's time for you guys to go get credit cards." And they asked their parents, and their parents said, "No way." And I got stuck holding all the money, holding all the debt. And I had no way to pay it back. And probably worst day of my life, I had to go bankrupt. I had to go Chapter 7. And I was sitting in bankruptcy court, and the trustee looks down his bifocals at me and says, "I don't understand. Your application says this is for a musical. People usually go bankrupt over medical bills and things like credit cards. Explain musical to me," which I did. And he said, "Wow, I've been doing this, 30 years. I thought I had seen everything. I've never seen this one before. I bet you I can get the other trustees to buy me a drink at happy hour tonight with this story." And I said, "Thanks so much, sir. I'm glad this is amusing to you, but this is my life." So I decided that maybe I shouldn't become a Broadway producer because I didn't do so well the first time. I said, "You know what? I just borrowed a bunch of money to gamble on something I knew nothing about and I lost. I'm going to go become a financial advisor and teach people not to do this." Now, to this day, it's been about 17 years I've been a financial advisor, and I've never had a client say, "Hey, do you think it'd be a good idea if I borrow money to produce a musical?" So I haven't gotten to talk somebody out of it yet, but I'm still holding on to hope that someone's going to try that. So I became a financial advisor, and my branch manager handed me the phone book the first day after training and said, "They're all in there, Tiger, go get them." And I didn't know any better. So I listened, and I made those 300 cold calls a day, and that phone felt like a concrete brick to the point where, I didn't want to lift it up anymore. I didn't want to call anyone and get rejected anymore. In my spare time, I am a professional magician. It's one of my hobbies. And I had the good fortune to be reading a marketing magic, a trade journal for magicians. And in it, there was a full-page ad for a marketing course. And what happened was I didn't have the money. Again, I was cold calling at the time. So what I did was I asked my parents. I said, I'm 22 at the time, and I said, "Mom, Dad, can you buy this for me for my birthday?" And they said, "Sure," and bought me the marketing course. And I implemented the marketing course, and in 30 days, I became the most expensive, busiest magician in Buffalo, where I live. So it really worked. So I used my critique certificate, and I got a conference call with the guy who sold me the course. And I said, "Where did you learn this stuff?" And he said, "Dan Kennedy." So I started buying Dan Kennedy books and Dan Kennedy products and Dan Kennedy tapes. And some time goes by, and I had the good fortune to meet and marry Rebecca, my wonderful wife, who you saw. And I finally get the chance a year or two later to do a consultation with Dan. And Dan says, "You're doing everything your industry taught you, which is completely wrong. You shouldn't be cold calling for business. You shouldn't be mass mailing seminar invitations. You shouldn't be chasing people. Write me this really big check and I'll change your life." Now, obviously, it was a lot better pitch than that. I'm just making it shorter. So I went home to Rebecca and I said, "Honey, a year ago, we got married. 9 months ago, we bought our first house. 3 months ago, we had our first baby. And 3 weeks ago, you quit your job to stay home with Max. And I'm the sole breadwinner and I'm cold calling. But I need to go borrow more than our mortgage to go hire this guy Dan to change our life." And she told me I was crazy and said it wasn't a good idea. And the next day I came back and asked the same question. And this went on for 30 days. I kept asking. She kept saying no more and more vehemently. And then day 31, she said, "You better pray this works." So I hired Dan, and boy, did it work. It quadrupled my production in the first 2 years. Financial advisors on the call, like Ed, you know how big that is. That's a huge jump. It took me from the 6,699th ranked financial advisor at AG Edwards. In 2 years, I was in the top 30 in the country for opening new accounts. So it worked really, really well. It got me written about in Registered Rep Magazine, Insurance Newsnet. It got me written about in 3 books for financial advisors. And all of a sudden, my phone is ringing with financial advisors who say, I want to do what you did. How do I do that? So I said, Dan, what do I do? And he said, you start a marketing company and you do it for them. So I started Market Domination LLC 9 years ago. It started out as me and 1 advisor was my client. It is now me in an office building full of fantastic team members, and we serve thousands of clients literally all over the planet, all over the globe. I had a conference call with somebody an hour before this in Australia. So it worked. And let's talk about how the book process worked. The process I figured out to get CPAs or attorneys or advisors, and we'll talk about how it applies to all 3, to work for you. Quick housekeeping item while we're going through. If you've got questions, type them in the chat box, and when I see them, I will answer them. Informal, I will go back and forth. So the steps to a successful book, and you want to write these down. Step number 1 is you need a book concept and a name. And if we've got time at the end for questions and answers, we'll play, and someone in the audience can be a guinea pig. So you saw divorce experts, you saw estate planning experts. We have a client who's doing a book on Medicaid. I've got a client doing a book on Social Security planning. I've got a client doing a book on asset protection. I've got a client doing books on tax planning and retirement planning. It just depends on whether you're an advisor or an accountant or an attorney or what type of niche you want to go after. Number 2 is you need interview questions because you're interviewing the CPA, the attorney, or the advisor. Now think about this. When you're interviewing someone, you're a reporter. And reporters, again, grant recognition and fame. So you're not cold calling and saying, hey, I want your referrals anymore. Now all of a sudden, you have something to grant them. You can add a huge amount of value before you ever ask for anything back, which totally changes the relationship. So you need interview questions because the interview should be scripted. Now you're not going to read like a robot. You're going to interview them. You're going to pretend you're Oprah or whoever. You don't have to be Oprah. You just have to ask questions. And then their answers will take you off on other tangents and inspire other questions. But you want the basic framework to be scripted because we've got a format that will get them more likely to promote the book and buy more copies because they have to feel really warm and fuzzy and really good about the interview they gave and about the book manuscript in order for them to share it with more people. Does that make sense? And then you want to book your first guest. Next thing you need to do once you've got an interview scheduled is you need to record it. And we get lots of questions every day about the technology. You don't need any. It's really easy. If you are doing the recording over the phone, you can use Skype or GoToMeeting or freeconferencecall.com or the call recorder app on your iPhone. If you are doing it in person, you can just buy, a little Olympus digital voice recorder for $20 at Office Depot. It doesn't need to be super stellar audio quality. It just needs to be enough where we can hear the conversation so that we can transcribe it and edit it for you. So you don't want to do this, you don't want to take them out to lunch and do an interview at lunch because you'll get so much background noise from the restaurant. And ideally, if you're doing it if you're doing it in someone's office, you want them to tell the secretary, hold my calls, turn off the computer, hold the phone, don't let anyone knock on the door, so that you have decent quality audio. And then you're going to wash, rinse, and repeat. And then what happens is you take the audio file and you have it transcribed, and then you edit it because the way people talk isn't necessarily the way people read. So you've got to do some editing to make it read like a book. And when you have enough interviews, you've got a book. Now, obviously, it isn't all 100% interviews. 80% of the book should be interviews. The other 20% should be about you. So you need an introduction, you need a conclusion, you need some chapters about you and how fabulous you are and what your offer is and why you're different and stuff like your story. And then you've got a book. And then what you're going to do is you're going to get copies of that book into the hands of your interview subjects. I get this question all the time. Advisors and attorneys and accountants say, do I buy the books for them? And I would say no. You want them to buy their own books, but you don't want to make any money selling books. We publish the books in-house. We will also publish to Amazon and Kindle. So you will have an Amazon physical version, a Kindle ebook that's the e-version of the book, and then you will have the physical book that you buy from us that we print for you. We do not make any money selling books. You pay our printing cost. And the more you buy, the cheaper it gets. So it may be between $3 and $6 a copy for the book. You can put whatever price you want on the book, and on the ISBN number, you can say it's $14.95 or whatever, and then give it to the CPA at $6, because you want them to buy as many copies as possible, because that way they'll hand them out to as many people as possible. And when they hand those books out to their clients, we give them a letter that is written in their voice. We do it for them, so they don't have to do any work. So they mail out 100 copies of the book with 100 letters to their clients saying, look at me, I'm in a book, and talking about the book project and who you are, so that when those people are looking for a second opinion on when they're looking for a lawyer, an accountant, or an advisor, they come back to you because you wrote the book. What's really interesting is the CPA says, look at me, I'm in a book, here's a copy, I wanted you to have it, basically. But the client calls the attorney and says, my CPA told me to call you, which isn't actually what happened. But when the CPA says, I want you to read this book that I'm in, the client thinks, well, this attorney, he wouldn't give me this book by this attorney. If this attorney wasn't any good, I should give him a call. And that's the secret magic. That's how you get referrals this way from CPAs, attorneys, or advisors, because they will go out and promote you to their client base because you wrote the book. And then those people will come back to you because you wrote the book. That's how the referral magic works. We get asked all the time, how long does it take? Well, in about 4 months, our process takes about 4 months. You will have a book and new referrals from CPAs, attorneys, and advisors. The reason why we say it takes 4 months on average, the first month is us doing the research. We've got to find the right CPAs, the right attorneys, the right advisors, the right professionals to put in your book. And then we've got to create a marketing campaign that goes to them and gets them to want to be in the book. That's like the first 3 to 4 weeks. And then after that, the next 2.5 months are you doing interview after interview after interview. And then when you've got enough done, it takes us a couple weeks to turn into a finished book. So that's why we say on average, this process takes about 4 months. From the day you, let's say, hired us, if you are interested in that, to the day the book is out in the marketplace, sending people back to you. And if you, after those 4 months, we have some other ideas I'm going to share with you about a book launch party and a book mastermind group to really put it on steroids, but we'll get to that. Part of our secret sauce, obviously, is a multi-step, multimedia marketing campaign that gets the CPA or attorney or advisor to participate and want to be in the book. Then there is a direct mail campaign that goes to them with a couple copies of the book to get them to buy more, and then a letter that goes from the professional to their client with the book, and about you. So you put those 3 things together, and that's how the magic happens. You're probably wondering at this point, what does it cost? Well, the investment's actually really reasonable. When I hired Dan Kennedy, if you hire Dan to write all this stuff for you, he charges $100,000 plus royalties in perpetuity, but obviously this doesn't cost anywhere near that. There is another firm that will do your book for you called Tucker Max. They charge $24,000. However, they interview you, and it's a book all about you. It's your autobiography. So who's going to care? The only person who's going to promote your autobiography is you. And it doesn't even, I mean, we don't even charge like 30% of that. So stick with me. Before I share with you exactly the details of the process, I want to ask you, what is a client worth to you? What is the first, if you're a financial advisor, what are your first year commissions or fees? If you're a CPA and you're doing taxes, what do they pay you for that return and the other work every year? If you're an attorney, depending on the type of law you practice, if it's an estate plan, I mean, that could be $4,000, $5,000, $10,000. And if you're doing annual reviews, and that's part of this, they may have to pay for that too. It just depends. If you're selling insurance, what are your average renewals or trails every year? And most importantly, how many referrals do those clients give you every year? And what are those referrals worth? And I'm guessing if you figure out the math, you'll realize your clients are really valuable to you. They'll pay you a significant amount of money, not only in the first year, but over the 5, 10, however many years they're with you. So I hope I am inspiring you. I know we've been going kind of fast, and you can type questions, but I hope I'm inspiring you to be our next success story. Whether you do this on your own and you report back and say, hey, I got questions, or hey, it worked out, that'd be awesome. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you want us to do all the work for you, obviously that's why we're here. Because if all this does for you is get you in front of your dream referral sources and prospects. You know, is it worth it? If all it does is get your book done without you having to do the writing, is it worth it? And if all it does is get you new clients, is it worth it? I gotta believe it doesn't take too many clients to make this a very profitable endeavor. And think about that. Now you're a published author, and it's a whole lot easier to get media attention if you're an author. You know, if you were an estate planning attorney and you sent a press release to your local paper and said local attorney offers, you know, seminars on healthcare proxies, they're probably not going to care. But if its local attorney has book launch, you know, writes book, giving away copies to consumers as part of, you know, a do-gooder campaign, you'll get on the air. We've had clients who have done it. So I mentioned the book launch party. This is really, really cool. So when the book comes out, if you're working with us and you stay with us after the book is done, we do a book launch party where everybody who's in the book gets together at a nice restaurant. They bring clients, they bring spouses. We try and get the local media to cover it. You have a photographer come. Everybody does a book signing. Generates a lot of buzz, a lot of business. And then on an ongoing basis, we provide a book mastermind group. And what that means is you and and all the attorneys, advisors, accountants who are in the book get together every single month for lunch and talk about your business, talk about what's going on, talk about who's doing what, and send referrals back and forth. And the beauty is if it's your book, you're the only one of your profession in the room. So if you're an advisor, you're the only advisor, and everyone else in the room is a CPA or an attorney or whoever. If you're an attorney, then there are advisors and CPAs in the room, but you'd be the only lawyer. So all of those referrals for that work that gets passed back and forth are going to come to you, and you see each other every single month. So it keeps that relationship going and keeps a whole lot more business coming back your way. I also teach our cutting edge marketing strategies every month for 2 to 3 hours here physically in Buffalo to a mastermind group of clients who are local. Now, I don't expect you to fly to Buffalo, especially the 9 months out of the year that it's snowing. So we video those and we make them available online in a private membership group. And normal access to those is $2,364. But we will throw all of those in for free every month. And it's not just the book program, it's everything we do for our clients. So you will be on the cutting edge of direct response marketing to generate more clients into your practice every month with great ideas you can use to get more people in the door. So we do the research to find the guests for you. We send our proven multi-step marketing campaign to get them to do the interview. We write your interview questions and edit the audio. We transcribe and edit every interview. We do the graphic design, layout, and publishing of your book. We market and promote the book. We provide marketing materials to send out to the folks in the book and for them to send out to their clients, all driving a ton of business your way is the goal, all done for you. And it's only $997 a month for 4 months. So it's $4,000, but we'll let you split it up over 4 months so that you're not paying it all at once. If you are interested in learning more, it is at ultimatemarketingmagician.com/TEP offer. And I will type that URL in the chat box. And if you'd like to get on my podcast, regardless, I have a top-rated podcast. We'll hit 1 million downloads in the next 90 days. I've had some household name guests on that show, like Dan Kennedy, Russell Brunson, Roland Frazier. Jerry's going to be on my show. Jeremiah from Agency Growth Academy, Joel Comm, and Roland Frazier, some of the household names in the marketing and financial services industry have been on my show. You can get on my show if you just go to ultimatemarketingmagician.com/podcast-guests, and you can fill out a little form saying, hey, Seth, I was on the training session with Jerry, want to be on your show, and we will get you on. And not only can you say you've now then been featured on my show, but we'll give you the recording, which obviously you can use to transcribe to start getting the first chapter of your book done. Whether that's with us or not, I'll give it to you for free either way. So again, it's ultimatemarketingmagician.com/TEP offer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a breath and open it up for some more questions and answers if you want to type them in the chat box. Okay, I see questions coming in. I'm a financial advisor. How does this work with compliance? Great question. So we've had advisors at almost every major broker dealer and wirehouse you can imagine get this through compliance, even Morgan Stanley. which is pretty conservative. The reason why it's easy to get through compliance is because the interview questions can be approved in advance. Every transcript can be approved in advance, and the book manuscript gets approved in advance before it gets published. So they're fixed so that it's not like a social media content where someone could comment on it or something. Your compliance department would be worried about that. They can approve everything in advance. Good question. Okay, I see more. How many interviews does it take to make a book? Good question. That depends on how chatty your guests are. So we've had books that were 10 interviews, and we've had books that were 20. I haven't had any more than that, but it just depends. Like, for example, for my 6th book, for Market Domination for Podcasting, one of the questions I ask all my guests is, how did you get started? And that'll be one of the questions you ask your attorney or CPA or advisor. And when I asked one guest, how did you get started? His answer was 1 sentence. And it took, the interview was like 15 minutes. And I think I got like 3 or 4 pages out of it. And I said, this is not a good interview. I asked the next guest, how did you get started? His answer was half an hour. I literally could have put the phone down, walked away, come back. I don't think he would have noticed or taken a breath. So it just, you don't need a half-hour answer to one question. It just depends. The average interview is about 20, 30 minutes. It takes between 10 and 20. That's why we say give us approximately 3 to 4 months. Other questions? How long is a book? Again, that depends, but these are not, it's a physical bookstore book. So we have books that were 150 pages. We have books at 220 pages. It just depends. But it is a physical, like, bookstore book. It is not just, I mean, it is a real book, soft cover. We don't make any money printing, so if you want hardcover, you can pay however much extra it is to get hardcover copies. It doesn't matter to us. Do you ever get any pushback on having multiple people in the same profession in a book? No, I was worried about that when I started doing it, but we really haven't. So we've never had an accountant say, well, I'm not going to be in that book because there's 4 other accountants in the book. Because if you think about it, they all have different stories about why they became an accountant. They all serve people a little, I mean, if you get 10 economists in a room and ask them about the economy, you'll get 10 different answers. So you could even skew the question so they're talking about slightly different topics. We've never have an issue. Ed, if you have 5 CPAs, are they all answering the same question? Some of the questions will be the same, some will be different. So tell me about your background, why did you become an accountant question is going to be the same for everybody because that's all part of their story and they want to talk about their journey. But you could have one, for example, if you were interviewing 5 lawyers on estate planning, you could have one lawyer talk about a will, one talk about healthcare proxies, one talk about trust. I mean, you could skew it so they weren't all answering the exact same questions, but we really haven't had any issues with that. And there's never been a consumer that we know of who called up one of our clients and complained saying, because they all answer the questions different ways. It's funny, I've done that the estate planning book. I've had a number of lawyers do that in different cities. And you ask a lawyer, what's your definition of estate planning? And all of them have different answers. So it's a good question, Ed. We haven't had that issue. Does it matter where I am? Yes. So there are cities this won't work in. If you are in a really, really, really small town, I would advise against it because there might not be enough people to make it work. I mean, small, like 10,000, like really rural. And if we've got someone in your profession, in your city that's already doing it, and your city isn't big enough to support multiple people doing something similar, because obviously, even in Buffalo, there's 3,000 members of the Erie County Bar Association. Now, obviously, some of those lawyers are starving, and I don't want them. And some of those lawyers aren't, I don't want to interview bankruptcy attorneys. But as an advisor, as a financial advisor, my ideal client's an estate planning attorney who's a partner in their law firm. He's my ideal interview because I want his clients. So there are plenty of those. So again, we'll let you know. Like if you go if you go enroll in the program and it turns out we can't take care of it, we can't do it for you, I'll refund your money right away. There's no issues there. What about a sample book? Yes, you can see a sample book. Yes. You know what? Here, I will hold one up for the camera right now. Hang on, I will switch to, let's get rid of the screen share. Can you guys see me? Okay, so this is a book. This is Estate Planning Experts Atlanta. This is a real book. Here I got, this is another one. So again, these are physical books, real bookstore link, actual books. Hopefully that helps. Now got me on live action here. Here, I'll switch back to the PowerPoint. Okay. Any other questions? See, we covered sample books, CPAs, we covered compliance, we covered different topics. If anybody wants to play on what type of book we would do for you, I'm happy to do a role play for you. We saw some, we got estate planning, we got Medicaid, we got tax planning, retirement planning, how to make smart choices with your money. We've got a number of people in estate, number of people in divorce. We've got one advisor who's doing a book on how to make smart choices. She wants business owners as clients. So she's doing a book that's coming out this month on how to make smart choices with your business. And she's interviewing people who serve, the business attorneys, business CPAs, some other folks. I don't see any other questions. All right. Jerry, do you have anything you want to add via typing? How about estate planning, since we were all connected to that subject? Sure, absolutely. So we've done that a bunch of different ways. So as you saw, the Estate Planning Experts book was written by an attorney. We've done it in Atlanta, we've done it in Buffalo, we've done it in other places. So if you're an attorney, you're an estate planning attorney, you'd want referrals from CPA, from advisors who are serving the affluent, baby boomer client. You'd want referrals from the CPAs. You might want referrals from nursing home directors, depending. I have one client who's doing that, two clients who are doing that. Writing about them in a book as a way to get them to let them do a seminar at the facility for the adult children, and giving away copies of the book to the adult children of the people who are living there. How to contact me. Thank you. Okay, so if you have questions before you sign up, my email is Seth@market, I'll type it in the chat box, dominationprogram.com. Although my email has been down all day today, we've been having tech issues all day. My cell phone is 716-908-3164. My only caveat would be I live on the East Coast and I have 3 little kids who go to bed early. So don't, if you humor me and don't text me after like 9 o'clock at night, that'd be awesome, East Coast time, and I get back to you the next day. But my number is 716-908-3164. And then you'll talk to me if you have any questions, and then we'll get you enrolled with me and one of our account representatives here who work for me. Again, we do everything. The book, all you have to do is show up and do the interviews. Literally, the entire rest of the book is done for you. There's another company besides Tucker Max that'll do your book for you. It's not interviewing other people, so no one's going to share it. It's another autobiography service, and they charge $12 grand. So I mean, everyone. There are a couple other companies in the industry. Nobody so far has copied us, which is really cool. Nobody has come up with the idea of the interviewing CPAs and attorneys or the related professionals and putting them in the book. Granted, we did copyright. I mean, we are protecting our intellectual property, but I haven't seen anybody try and steal my idea. Other questions? Okay, awesome. Look forward to hearing from you. Love some feedback either way. I know there were, quick apology, we have a triple opt-in process for this webinar. You went to a page, you put in your name, email, and phone, then you filled out a survey, which had your name and email on the bottom. Your name and email was supposed to carry over from the first form to the second form, so you didn't have to re-enter it. And then there was a final registration for the webinar, for this itself, through Webinar Jams, the service that we use. Your data was supposed to carry over. You weren't supposed to have to type it in 3 times. We had a whole bunch of people said, I had to type it in 3 times. So I apologize about that. If you were registered but didn't finish the registration process because either it didn't work or you got annoyed, I apologize. We are emailing out a replay of the recording of this to everybody who registered at the very first page, so everyone will get it. Jerry, thank you so much for doing this wonderful office. It's great to have you. I think you can effectively help all of our professionals generate new client leads. Your program is completely unique and creative. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Jerry. Obviously, this isn't the only thing that we do. It is what we're here to talk about today. It is probably one of our sexiest services because it's what you're missing. You may get referrals now from other related professionals, but not on a regular basis and not in any volume. And they're certainly not sending out 200 of your business card, but they'll send out 200 copies of your book because they're in it. So I hope that was informative. I hope it was educational. I hope you got some good ideas. And I hope to hear from you, and I hope we can help some of you. So thank you so much for attending. And again, ultimatemarketingmagician.com/TEP offer and to sign up.